Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. Welcome to lesson 2 of Key to the Arabic Language, Learning to Read and Write. I'm assuming everyone can hear me, inshallah. And we had a few problems with one or two of the participants not being able to hear clearly. Inshallah, I'm assuming everyone can hear me. We'll start with the class. Last week we had a brief introduction. Yes, we had a brief introduction last week in terms of how the Arabic language came and how it was formed, the importance of the Arabic language, and how the language is related to our deen, and how the history behind how the letters were actually formed. Those letters which were newly introduced, the vowels and so on. Inshallah, in today's class, we will be studying the huruuf al-makhaarij. The huruuf al-makhaarij. That's the Arabic word for the articulation points of the letters. Being able to know where every letter comes from. This is by far the most important lesson that you're going to learn throughout the whole of this book, throughout the whole of this lesson. Most of you are probably professionals at this from a young age. You've probably been taught from madrasas, from parents, and so on. But it's mostly to build your confidence, inshallah, to boost your confidence that the way you are reading is correct. And if it turns out that there are a few letters that you're struggling with that you're not sure, inshallah, we'll perfect it today. And if it turns out that there were letters that you were not reading correctly, inshallah, you will learn from today's class not to make those mistakes again. So today's lesson is literally building the foundation, the blocks to reading and reciting and being able to write as well appropriately, correctly. Now, definition of articulation. Definition of articulation. Ta'rif al-makhaarij. Ta'rif al-makhaarij means definition of articulation. Makhaarij, it means to release. Okay? Makhaarij is singular. Jama' means plural. Makhraj is the plural version of makhaarij. Is when you release, when you're letting out. So here when you're letting out letters from your mouth. But kharaja means to exit. Kharaja. It derived from the Arabic word kharaja. And that's what you'll find in all of these makharij and makhraj. You'll find in particular the letters kha, ra, and ja never disappear. Even in the plural version. This is the singular. Even in the plural version, you still find kha, ra, ja. Because these three letters are the foundation building blocks to presenting different ways of forming a word and giving it different meanings. So, makharij is singular, makhraj is plural. Inshallah, at the end of the lesson, I'll give you all the link to this website so that you can practice on it yourself, inshallah. Okay? Now, the articulation points is the place of emitting the letters when pronouncing it that differentiates that specific letter from the other one. So it means basically that the huruuf al-makhaarij is being able to pronounce every letter so that you can differentiate between the letters. At the moment, there are specific letters which sound similar. They sound so similar that sometimes it's even hard to tell the difference. I'm sure majority of you are nodding your head right now, okay? But inshallah, we'll go through these letters one by one today. All right, and if we have time, inshallah, we'll go into writing. I hope you all have a notebook, inshallah, to take notes. All right, because this isn't in your slides. This isn't in the PDF slide that I've given you. But you can always go back to the website later on, inshallah, when I send you the link. Without further ado, Bismillah. The 5 major areas. Every single letter in the Arabic alphabet comes from a certain area within your body. These 5 areas are the throat, the tongue, the 2 lips, the empty space in the mouth, and the nose. Okay? I'm emphasizing again how important this lesson is. If you perfect today's lesson, then you've basically perfected the foundation to reciting the Quran properly to speaking Arabic fluently. Now, these 5 in particular major areas in Arabic have names as well. The throat is called the al-halaqa. Al-halaqa. The tongue is called al-lisan. 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 The 2 lips is called the shafatain. Shafatain. Ash-shafatain. Or ash-shafatani. It's the same meaning. Ash-shafatani. The empty space in the mouth is called al-jawf. Al-jawf. Okay? And finally, the nose is called al-khayshum. Al-khayshum. At the moment, we're not focusing so much on the Arabic, but I'm pronouncing it for you all anyway, inshallah. For now, my main concern is that you all understand when I say the 5 major points for the huruuf al-makhaarij, where the letters exit from, are these 5 places here. The throat, the tongue, the 2 lips, the empty space in the mouth, and the nose. Now, the throat, known as al-halaq, it has 3 articulation points for 6 different letters. Okay? The halaq, where is it? The throat. So there's 3 stages of the throat. There's the lower throat, there's in the middle, and there's just on top. And inshallah, we'll go through all of them. And each of them, there are 2 letters that are pronounced from each one of those stages. So in total, that's 6 letters. From the deepest, middle, and the closest part of the throat. At the tongue, it has 10 articulation points. 10. That's the tongue. And finally, not finally, sorry, just on this slide, the 2 lips, they have 2 articulation points for 4 letters. Inshallah, we'll go through all of these. The empty space in the mouth, known as the al-jawf, the empty space in the mouth has 1 articulation point, and 3 letters are pronounced from it. Okay? And finally, the nose, al-khayshum. This is towards the inside of the mouth. Here there is 1 articulation point, and that is known as the gunna. That we're not so focusing on at the moment, because this is not, the gunna is mainly for reciting in tajweed, is mainly for the Quran. But if we get time, inshallah, we may just dive into it a little bit, depending on our time, inshallah. But for now, the nose is not so much a primary concern for us. We are studying, learning to read and write Arabic. This is in the tajweed course. For the tajweed course, you would have to focus on this as well, all these 5. For us, our main focus point is only 4. Here you go. Now, this is an image of exactly how your mouth would look like. Ash-shafatani is the 2 lips. Okay? Al-lisan is your tongue. Al-jawf is the empty part of your mouth that leads down your throat. Al-jawf. Al-khayshum is from the nose, and this is where we pronounce al-ghunna, the nostril. We pronounce it from the nostril, and this is, for those who have studied tajweed or maybe familiar with it, will understand. And then we have finally al-halaq. Our main focus point, I say again, is these 4 right over here. Al-jawf, al-halaq, al-shafatan, al-lisan. Okay? Without further ado, inshallah, we're going to study now the throat. We mentioned the throat has 3 stages. The lower layer, the bottom of the throat, the middle of the throat, and the top of the throat. And you will find these letters here, all 6 of these. In tajweed, these are called idhar. In tajweed, these letters, all 6 of these are called idhar. Okay? Now, what does this exactly mean? It means that when you pronounce them from that certain location, it will never come out wrong. It will always make the same sound as it should sound. Where if you pronounce the letter ain and you pronounce it from, let's say, from the nose, for example, you will never be able to make that sound correctly. So how do you know if you're making the sound correctly? because you know that where the sound is coming from, where the pressure is being laid, you'll find that pressure is this certain part where the arrow is being pointed at. So we did mention earlier on that certain letters sound similar. Certain letters. So for some people, we struggle to pronounce the letter kha, kha and ra, ra. To some, they may sound the same. They are not the same because when you pronounce them, they come from two different locations. Yes, the letter kha after jim ha, the letter kha comes from the top of the throat, and so does the letter ghain. The letter ghain also comes from the top of the throat, but the letter kha is joined to the top layer of the mouth. The top layer of the mouth, you can feel the vibration. Okay? At the moment, your cameras are all off, or majority of them, they're all off, and you're all muted. Okay? So I can't hear any of you. If you would like, you can unmute yourself if you would like me to hear and give a feedback. If you would like, you can practice it yourself, since I can't hear you anyway. Okay? If you would like to put your camera on also, that's also possible. If you'd like to put your camera on, be my guest, so I can see that you're pronouncing the letters properly, inshallah. If you feel confident that you're reading it correctly, then marhaba, ahlan wa sahlan, mashallah. Okay? But we have to understand exactly where the letters are coming from. We have to, in our next class, inshallah, we'll have a small test. The small test, we'll see exactly who has been paying attention to the class. I will be asking what letters come from the throat. Who can give me an example? So these will be questions that will come up in next week's class to make sure that everyone's following and up to date. Now, these letters known as the idhar in tajweed, okay, they all come from the throat. Now they come from different layers of the throat. Na'am. So let's start from the bottom layer. Okay, the bottom layer is Hamza. Ha. It almost comes from the chest. It comes so low down the throat that it feels like it's coming from the chest, and you can feel the vibration in your chest when you say the letter ha. It's very light. It's very, very light. Compared to the letter ha. Ha is very strong. It's been emphasized. The letter ha. Ha doesn't come from the same place as the letter ha. Ha comes from the bottom of your throat towards your chest. Okay? It's like when you're saying he. He. H-E, he. That ha sound, ha, is coming from the bottom of your chest. Okay? That's the letter ha. The letter Hamza comes from the same place. The letter Hamza. Okay? Then you have the letter Hamza we mentioned last week's class, that it's one of those letters that never existed in the Arabic alphabet. It was only due to Islam spreading towards the foreign lands that the Ajamis, those who are non-Arabs, found it difficult to pronounce the letter Ain. And because they couldn't pronounce the letter Ain, they would pronounce it like a alif, like a a. Some of you are probably nodding your head because it's not easy to pronounce the letter Ain, especially if it doesn't exist in your language, especially if it's an unknown letter in your mother tongue. Okay, so it's not easy to pronounce. It takes practice, but first thing you need to understand is where it comes from. The letter Ain, a. It comes from the middle of the throat, a. Okay, so that's where you should be pronouncing it. Have a go yourselves. Okay, a. If it sounds anything similar to an alif, like a, then you know you're doing it wrong. Okay, so that people could differentiate and understand the difference between a and a Hamza, which sounds the same as an alif, which is a. The Hamza was invented. Hamza naturally does not exist in the Arabic language. Okay, the Hamza was invented, and even if you look at the Hamza, the shape of it, it's like an ain just cut off from the bottom. Okay, this is just so that you can. They were emphasizing on people struggling with certain letters that a is different from a. and the a comes from the jof. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. The hamza is all the way at the bottom, ha, and the a. So now going to the middle letters, we have ain and we have ha. Ha, as I mentioned, is really strong. It comes from the middle of the throat. Ha. So focus when you're releasing those letters, to focus to release them from exactly, pinpoint exactly where the location is. Ha. It's there. It's right there. Ha. Right there. Ha. Okay? Then you have the letters ra, ra. From the top over here, okay? Ra, ra, ra. It's much lighter than kha. Kha is very heavy. Kha. There's one other one, a third one that sounds similar to these two. Inshallah, we'll get to them as soon as we reach that stage. Okay? Moving on. Letters Hamza and the letter Ha. As you can see from the image, it's the bottom of the throat. It's the bottom of the throat. Okay? Where the Adam's apple is just below the Adam's apple. Closer to your chest. Ha, Hamza. Ha, ha. Okay? It's known as aqsal halaq. Aqsal halaq is the bottom of the throat. The letters ha. The letters ha and the letter ain. Look at, they make a vibrating sound. Both of these letters make a vibrating sound. Ha, ha, and a, ain, ain. Ain almost sounds like you got something stuck down your throat. Ah, ah. You see, like when you're trying to take something out of your mouth, like you try to like you're trying to vomit, shall I say? Ah. It sounds completely different to ah. When you say ah, okay, the jof, which is the open area, is completely open. Ah. The doctor when he tells you to say ah, everything's open. Where the ah from here is closed. From the middle of the throat, ah, you're putting pressure on a certain part where the throat comes together. It closes to pronounce ah, ha. It gets closer to closing the throat, a certain area of the throat. And finally, the top part of the throat, okay, you have the letter ha, ha. The letter ha is between your tonsils, between the back of your tongue and the tonsils, ha. It makes that vibrating sound. So does the letter ghain. But look at the difference. Look at the difference, okay? Now, ghain is all the way at the bottom of the tonsils. Ra, ra, all the way at the bottom of the tonsils. Where the letter kha is above it. Look at where the letter kha is above. Okay? This will help you differentiate in terms of pronouncing them. Okay? Kha, khalaq, kha. Now, then you have ghain. Ra, ghufranak, gu, ra, ra. Where the tonsils all the way at the bottom. For those that have not studied in detail, these images will help you understand much clearer. Now, those were the 6 letters related to the throat. Now we're going to move on to the tongue, inshallah. Al-lisan. The tongue has 4 articulating points, 4 of them. And from that 4, we have 8 letters. Okay? We have, 18 letters. And we have 10 articulation points, We have 10 articulation points. And from these 10, we have 18 letters. And these 18 letters are distributed into 4 areas, kind of divided into 4 areas. Okay? You have aqsa lisan, which is the deepest part of the throat. The deepest part of the throat. Deepest part of the tongue, sorry. Aqsa lisan is the deepest part of the tongue, which is closer to the tonsils. Okay? Then you have wasat al-lisan, which is in the middle part of the tongue. And you have hafat al-lisan, which is the 2 sides of the tongue. Okay? And then finally you have tarf al-lisan, which is the tip of the tongue. This may seem like a lot to take in at once. It's fine. That's why we intentionally made sure the lessons are, there's a gap between, there's at least a couple of days, 1 week, a gap between each class, giving each person time to actually absorb everything they've learned and time to go back and revise. We've given you the resources that you need, inshallah, and the notes that you're taking now, inshallah, it will all help you to build a strong understanding and be able to help you pronounce the letters with confidence as we go on, inshallah, as we graduate through the course. And inshallah, please spend time, because there's a lot to take in. We are literally learning from the beginning to be able to build you up to the stage where you can actually read on your own without any problems. You've been able to read confidently. That's what we're trying to do in a period of 12 lessons. That's a very short while. So please make some time at home to practice these. Here we go. The letter qaf. Qaf. The letter qaf. I mentioned there are certain letters that sound the same. Depending on which community you come from, depending on which part of the world you come from. If you come from Africa, most Africans struggle with this letter. This letter is qa. The qa has no vibration. Qa. It's a clean sound compared to kha. The drags. The letter kha drags. And it's not clean sound either. There's a big difference between ul and khul. Do you hear the difference? Khul and ul. There's a big difference. Okay? It's not khul, it's ul. And that's what we have to make sure that we pronounce correctly. Because if you pronounce it wrong, we could be translating or reading something from the Quran or pronouncing something which gives a whole different meaning because we replaced it with a different letter now. Remember, the Arabic language, it's so precise that one difference, even one small vowel, if you change a vowel, if you just change one letter in a word, you've completely got a whole new word now. You've completely generated a whole new word, which makes it very dangerous when you're reading the Quran. Hence, that's why we need to learn this. Hence, that's why this lesson is so important. I know some of you, it's not your first time studying this class with me. Mashallah. It just emphasizes on how important this class is that some students decided to do it again. Kaf. Your tongue is actually sticking to the roof of your mouth. Kaf. Or close to sticking. If not sticking to the roof, close to sticking. When we touch the root of the tongue on the hard palate, which is on top, then we make the kaf letter. Kaf. Here we go. Okay. Now we're getting closer to the top layer of the mouth, okay? We're getting closer to the front of the mouth. Then you have the letter Jim, Sheen, and Ya. They're all pronounced from the same place. Jim, Sheen, and Ya. The only difference is there might be a slight difference in terms of one may be a bit closer to the mouth, and one may be in the center. It's just the smallest movement that you make from your tongue that makes the difference. Ya. Your tongue is not touching. Ya. As you can see, here in this picture, your tongue is not touching the top layer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay? With sheen, it is touching. It's touching the top layer, the palate. The top layer of the mouth inside, it's touching. Sheen, sheen. Okay? Your tongue stays in. Sheen. Your tongue goes in further. Sheen. Where jim comes the closest part of the palate inside, closest to your teeth. That's jim. Okay? Now, inshallah, these notes we'll study them as we get into the vowels. Okay? But for now, I just want you all to familiarize yourselves in terms of where these letters come from. Okay, now the teeth. Those who've studied dentistry, or those who are familiar with how the teeth work, we will be studying inshallah today in terms of these letters when they are pronounced, how they are related to the teeth. They're color coded for you. Okay, athanaya is the front two teeth, top and bottom. Okay, athanaya, they're called athanaya, front incisors. That's what it's called in English, front incisors. Okay, athanaya. There are certain letters that you'll need to pronounce from here. Before the rest of the articulation points of the tongue are discussed, the teeth and their names in Arabic and English will be explained. So that's what we're doing today. That's what I'm doing right now. It's very important to know these in order to comprehend where each letter is being articulated. Thank you. So you understand now that these teeth are very important. What if somebody doesn't have those teeth? What if somebody in the lesson today is missing his thanaya, he's missing the front scissors? How is that individual going to pronounce the letters? They're not going to be able to pronounce these letters. Teaching for years, and especially when you teach children at a young age, their teeth tends to fall out. Children at a young age, their teeth tends to fall out. They eat so much sugary stuff, sweetie stuff, and their teeth tends to fall out. And when it does, trying to teach them these letters, it's a headache. It's nearly impossible. They can't get the grasp of things because you need these teeth to help you make the sound correctly. Okay? So adults normally have 32 teeth. Some people have less than this. The following pictures give the names and locations of the teeth in Arabic and in English. Those people who have less than this, it depends exactly where the person is missing the teeth. All right? Of course, now we don't need to worry because we've advanced in technology. You can get crowns, fake teeth put in. You can get those plastic teeth that you just stick in and so on. They will help you with the pronunciation. So it's not the end of the world. Okay? You've got the ar-raba'iyat. Ar-raba'iyat, they go down further after the two middle teeth. The two middle teeth are normally the two biggest ones, and then the ones after that is the raba'iyat, the lateral incisors, and then you have your canines, okay, the anyab, and the wahik. Then you have the wahik going down, okay. They're the premolar teeth. Why are they called the wahik? The wahik derived from dhahaka. It means to laugh. When you laugh, okay, those are the teeth that show. Those are the teeth that show when you laugh. So it was named after laughing, the wahik. Okay, the wahik derived from the Arabic word dhahaka. Inshallah, once we progress to the second book, inshallah, we'll learn how to find the root words towards every word. Find the root letters, to find the root letters behind every word so that we can formulate ourselves from finding the foundations towards every word. We can formulate ourselves different words within that root word, inshallah, by adding and taking away certain letters. And then you have al-tawahin. Al-tawahin is further down, going all the way. It's the last. It's the four. It's the first four after the last one, all the way at the back. And the last one is an-nawajid, the wisdom teeth. Okay, those who still have their wisdom teeth. if you still have availability, assuming you do. Now, moving on. Bod. This letter we mentioned in our previous lesson. It is by far the hardest letter to pronounce. Bod. It is the hardest letter to pronounce. I didn't say this. You didn't say it. My teacher didn't say it. The Prophet ﷺ said it. The Prophet ﷺ said the hardest letter to pronounce in the Arabic alphabet is the letter Bod. Now, there is more than one way of pronouncing this letter. Okay? Pronounced from the side of the tongue and the root of upper molars. So, if you stick your tongue out, the side of your tongue, either side, doesn't matter. You choose one side. This is one way. We're going to go through the two ways of pronouncing it, inshallah. One way is shown here. This is one way. Okay? The first image is that you stick your side of the tongue towards one corner. It has to touch the corner of the teeth. Okay? It has to touch the teeth. The top layer. Ba. 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 How do you know if you're pronouncing it correctly? Because your mouth won't feel bloated. Your mouth won't feel like you have a lot of air trapped in there. Okay? When you say Bob, you can feel your cheeks expanding. That's when you know you're reading it wrong. That's when you know you're reading it wrong. Ba, ba. Your cheeks shouldn't expand. The cheeks shouldn't blow up when you're pronouncing it. If your cheeks do blow up like that, like a balloon, it means you're pronouncing it wrong. It shouldn't be ba. No. Ba, ba. The bod, okay? These are amongst one of those letters as well, which are similar to two other letters. Inshallah, as we go on, we will see. And you will find as you listen, they do not sound anything alike. Then you will know that, oh, I've been reading it wrong all this time. Okay? But that's one way. Another way of pronouncing it is as the image is shown here, that you completely lay your tongue flat so that both corners are touching both bottom layers of the teeth. Bod. Or the top layer, sorry. Bod. Bod. Okay? Bod. I struggle with this second method. I find the first method easier. Okay? Bod. You stick the tongue completely to the top and you make sure that the both corners of the tongue, the both sides, are touching the sides of the teeth as well. Bod. 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 Okay? Then you know, look, from the image here, that the tongue is going on top. It's the top teeth that we want, not the bottom teeth. And then you have the letter lam. Lam. The letter lam requires it pinpoints two parts, okay? It pinpoints two parts of the teeth. The thanaya, the two front, okay? And bawahik. We mentioned the area which when you laugh, it always shows. The teeth that always show when you laugh. It's just after the canines. Just after your sharp teeth, the canine teeth, just after that, the bawahik. Those two is where the tongue touches to pronounce the letter lam. Lam. So if you can see from the image here, it's touching 1, 2, 3. It's touching 3 areas. Well, there you go. 1, 2, 3. So it goes like lam, lam, la, 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 la. The teeth are not touching each other. The mouth is open. Lam. Okay? It's important that you got the tongue on the top part of the mouth. Okay? La. Then we have the letter noon. Majority of us, everyone finds these letters a bit easy. Noon is very easy, noon. Okay? And noon doesn't even require a lot of practice. Not compared to wad or kha or ghain or qaf. Noon is a lot more easier. Okay? And noon requires the athanaya and the anyab. It requires the front teeth and the canine teeth. Noon, noon. And again, the tongue is placed on top of the palate of the mouth, on the top layer. And how do you know you're pronouncing it correctly? Look at the vibration. Where's the vibration? The image is showing you vibration, and it's coming from the nose. That sound is also the ghunna sound that we mentioned. From the nose, the ghunna. But that's leading to tajweed, inshallah. We'll stick to the topic. After that, we have the letter ra. This letter is very, very hard for those who are not used to pronouncing the letter ra. How do you know you're pronouncing it correctly? Your tongue will be able to flick rapidly. That kind of vibrating sound, okay, is ra, not ra, not ra, no. Your tongue is not moving. No. The tongue moves up and down. And where is the tongue hitting? It's hitting the top layer of the mouth. Okay? Ra comes out when the edge and tip portion of the tongue touches the gums of the top 4 front teeth. Okay? Ra. So it's not just there, but it's also the front layer of the teeth as well, the 4 front layers of the teeth that the tongue touches. Ra. So the tongue has to touch the teeth and the top layer of the mouth as well, the front top layer. Ra. Okay? Then you have the letter ta, ta. You have the letter ta. This is pronounced from where? The tip of the tongue. Ta. Okay? And where else? The roots of the upper front teeth. The roots. Yeah. The roots of the teeth. The tip of the tongue touches there. Ta. Majority of us find that easy. Ta. Da. Da. Letter da. They're both pronounced from the same place. Ta and da. Ta and da. Then you have the letter ta. 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 Okay? It's very important that you differentiate between open mouth and ta. 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 Open mouth and closed mouth. Look at the letter ta. My mouth, how it spreads. The cheeks. The cheeks. The teeth come out. Ta. Okay, after alif ba, ta. The teeth show where ta, ta. The letter ta, you don't see much of the teeth. Okay, and your mouth is shaped like you're blowing into a horn or something. Ta, ta. Your lips make a round shape. Ta. But other than the physical form that you see outwards, inside, where does the tongue touch? Look at where the tongue touches. Okay, it touches exactly the roots of the front teeth. The roots. Ta, ta. The top one, not the bottom one. The top one. Ta, ta. Where this one, ta. This ta is the open mouth, and at the same time, it's also touching the bottom as well. It's touching both the top and bottom. This one's only touching the top. Ta, ta, letter ta, ta. Okay, ta, ta, si, mim, ta, ta. It sounds completely different to ta. So don't confuse it with ta. Then we have the letter that, or dal, if you want to call it. That. How do you pronounce it? You stick the tongue out. You stick the tongue out, and the top teeth and the bottom teeth are literally just biting onto the tip of the tongue. That. Okay? And then you have that. That and that come from the same place. That. Okay? That. Again, you stick your tongue out, the top teeth and the bottom teeth above just gently touching onto the tongue. They're biting onto it, pronouncing the tha sound. Tha. Okay? Compared to this letter, the tongue goes and touches the tip of the teeth from the inside. Ba, ba, ba. Ba and that sound completely different. That is the open mouth. That. Why is it open mouth? You can see the teeth. That. Okay? That. The cheeks, they spread out and the tongue is visible. I mean, the teeth are visible. The cheeks, as they expand, the teeth are visible. Where ba, again, is like the letter ta. You're making that circle shape with your mouth. Okay? Ba. And only the top teeth. The tongue is only touching the top teeth. Ba. Where this one, the tongue is touching, where that and that, the tongue is touching both teeth. We're almost there now. Okay? Then we have the letters sad, sin, za, sad. What do you find all similar here is that the teeth are closed. Za. If you see this image, sa, za, sa. What's the difference between sad, and sin? The difference between them is open mouth and closed mouth. Sin. Look how my teeth stick out as my cheeks expand. Sin. You can't do sad with an open mouth. No, it won't come out. It won't. That sound is impossible to pronounce. That sound is impossible to make if you're pronouncing it with your mouth open. Sad, you make that O shape with your lips. Sad. And the teeth, the tongue is touching both teeth. Sad. It makes a deeper sound. Sa. Where sa is open mouth. Okay? Leaving us with the simple ones. Fa. If you see the teeth here, it's biting onto the bottom part of the teeth of the lips. Fa. It's not tha. Letter tha and letter fa are completely different. Tha is very light. Tha. Okay? Letter fa is emphasized. Fa. You're biting the bottom layer of your teeth, of your lips, sorry. Fa. That's where it's coming from, the bottom part of your lips. Fa. Ba. This is the lips now. The lips. Ba. Ba. Then you have the letter mim. Ma. The difference between mim and ba, yes, they both come from the lips, but the letter ba, the stronger you hold the two lips together, the stronger you put them together, that's the letter ba. But with the letter mim, the two lips are just barely touching. They're just touching each other. That's it. You're not forcing them together hard. Where ba, you're literally forcing the two layers of the top layer and the bottom layer of the lips to come together really hard. Ba, mim is very light compared to ba is very strong, but they both come from the lips. Wow. Okay, make that round shape with your lips. The unlengthened wow, that's what it's called, is articulated by forming a circle of the two lips without the two lips meeting completely. Wow. Okay? Wow. Al-jawf. This is the empty part of the mouth now. Okay? The empty space in the mouth and throat has in it one articulation point, because we only have one throat, we only have one empty space, we don't have two. For three letters, alif, waw, and ya, wa, ya, and that ya is a form of a madda. Okay, ya madda, waw madda, and alif madda. These three letters are by far the most important letters in the whole Arabic alphabet, because in the Arabic language, these are known as huruuf al-illa. They're known as the weak letters. Why? Because sadly, they don't have the power or authority to decide where they want to go. They get pushed around a lot. They get knocked over. Sometimes it gets wiped away from a word. Sometimes another word, another letter replaces it. It's just these three letters that are very, very difficult. Okay, like qala, qala. That sound is the alif known as a madda. Inshallah, as we get into it, you'll have a better understanding. Qala, and then you have ul, ul. All that's happened is the alif has been taken away. Okay, qala, ul. It's derived from the same word. It's derived from the same root Arabic word, but the alif was taken away. Why? Because it's a weak letter. The alif, waw, and the ya are the three major weak letters. It's the only three weak letters that they can disappear. They can change forms, and it's as if they were never there to begin with. They get bullied a lot. Okay? But inshallah, that's something which is a lot more advanced than now. You'll probably learn that in the inshallah in the second stage of the book. Not important right now. Okay. Going back to going back to today's class. Thank you. Let's close it again. Going back to today's class. Okay. Today's purpose and objectives. Purpose and objective today is lesson of purpose and objectives. The purpose and design of this lesson is to give you the skills to recognize each letter of the Arabic alphabet in any of their positions, regardless whether they are singular or joint letters. Okay? Letter recognition is the foundation of Arabic literacy. This, as I've mentioned before already, and I've emphasized, that everything comes down to these letters. You perfect them, you perfect these letters, then you will not struggle whatever follows next. And if you don't perfect them, then you will struggle with everything else. So it's best that we build the foundation blocks firmly and that we have full, complete understanding. Please feel free to ask any questions. If there is anything that you don't understand, please feel free. The scholars say that there's two people that never learn. Al-mustahi wal-mutakabbir. The one who has pride and the one who's shy. Too shy to ask questions, or too proud, Mr. Know-it-all, thinks he knows everything, will never learn anything. Okay? Because all the new knowledge will just go past them because they think they know it all. Or all the knowledge will go past them because they're too shy to even ask. Feel free to ask, inshallah. Alright? So, we stopped last week at these letters, and so far we've gone through pronouncing these letters. Alright? Now, I want us to understand, okay, that this letter here, Del or Dal, they're both same, depending on what part of the world you come from or where you learn it from. Some pronounce as Del, some pronounce as Dal, they're both correct. This letter is not Za, okay? It's not Za. We only have one Za in the Arabic alphabet, and it's here. This is Za. This is Za. Remember, we did the huruuf al-makhaarij, where the letters, okay, come out from that. Your tongue sticks out. And the top layer and the bottom layer of the teeth bite into it. That. All right? This is qa, qaf, not kha. Kha is here. Kha. This is qaf. Moving on. Now, I'm going to try and unmute everyone. Okay? And if I call out your name, please try and read the letter which the arrow is pointing at. Okay? If I Okay, starting with Sahar. Can I have Sahar? Could you read for me the first letter here?
I can't see any of the letters. It's just on.
Really?
Yeah, it just says it's on the paragraph number 5, not the nose. That slide.
Sorry. All right. Let me see. It shouldn't have been on there. All right, no problem. Is that better now?
Yeah, it's changing now.
Brilliant. Okay. I'm assuming everyone can see this as well now. Okay. Now, if I can ask Sister Sahar, could you read the first letter which the camera is pointing at?
Yeah, is it yeah?
Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Could I ask Zainab to read for me the second letter, please? Zainab, could you read for me the second letter?
Lam. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Lam.
No? Okay. Who wants to have a go at reading this letter?
Ain. Ain.
Ain. Brilliant. MashaAllah. Perfect. Okay. Who can have a go at reading? Let's do a hard one. Who can have a go reading this one?
Next one. So, door.
Bod. Perfect. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. Now, I've intentionally mixed up the letters so that I could see exactly who's perfected the letters in terms of memorizing it. This was the homework given last week. Last week we gave a homework to see exactly who had memorized the letter. The homework was to memorize the Arabic alphabet and see how well you did and how you got along with it. All the letters are mixed here, okay? That's intentionally designed like that so that we could see exactly who is struggling with what. Now, if you have a notebook and you have a pen, inshallah, I'm going to hand out your homework. Your homework for next week's class is to practice writing the Arabic alphabets. Practice writing them, okay? These are the Arabic alphabets. I want you all to try and practice writing them because next week, inshallah, we will go through them together. And to help you understand, okay, I'll simplify it for you. These slides here right now are not on your PDF slides. So please make sure you take notes. We've literally got 5 minutes left of the class. Okay, take notes, please. When you're writing the Arabic alphabets, you have singular and you have joint. All right, that you'll have in your slides already, that you'll have in your PDF. But this is the part that you don't have. When you're joining them, you have something called half letters. What does that mean? It means that when you're joining these letters in their joint form, the bottom half is cut off. Look at Jim and look at Jim here. The bottom part is cut off. That same thing applies to all of these letters. Look at sin. The bottom part of sin is cut off. And this is the shape, and this is how they form. This is the evolved version of the letters when you are joining them. Okay? It's easier to memorize them this way because these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 10 letters that are cut from the bottom. Look at me. The long line at the bottom is gone. These are known as the half letters. Then you have the still letters. These letters never change shape, guys. They never change shape. Whether in a singular form or whether in a joint form, they never change shape. All right? Dal, dal, ra, za, dal. Oh, sorry. Do I have dal there twice? Ah, brilliant. Okay. We've got dal there twice. Ignore that. Okay. These 8 letters never ever change shape. And then you have short tail letters. What does that mean? It means that these letters, when they are joined in its joint form, they lose a portion of their tail. They normally have 2 tails or 1 tail. Ba, ta, tha, and noon have 2 tails. But if you look at them, they're only left with 1 tail. The other tail is missing. Okay? The end of it is missing. And the same thing applies to the qaf and the fa. Okay? Now the noon, this isn't noon, this is lam. This is completely wrong. But the noon will look similar to tha and ta. Okay? I want you to correct this, inshallah, in your books, how noon should look like. And I want you to do ba. That empty space is left there on purpose. How ba should look like and how noon should look like. Yeah? If you see fa has lost front and at the end, that's if it's in the middle. If it's not in the middle, if it's at the beginning, then it stays the way it is. It just loses the tail at the end. Okay? Now, these are the 4 different forms of the joint letters. This you'll have in your slides, in the PDF. This you will have. Okay? Now, these you don't have, so maybe you can make note of these letters now. Ba, ta, fa, qaf, noon. Ba, ta, fa, qaf, noon. Dal, zal, ra, za, ta, ba, lam, waw. Dal, zal, ra, za, ta, ba, lam, waw. And the half letters, jim, ha, kha, sin, shin, sad, dad, ain, ghain, mim. Yes? Everyone have that? Brilliant, inshallah. I'll give you all some time to write this up. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions related to today's class? Please feel free. Okay, I've unmuted everyone. Feel free to speak, inshallah, if you have any questions. If you would prefer, you can write it down.
What do you do with the writing? After writing, what do you do?
Inshallah, that's the end of today's class. Jazakallah khair for coming on time. We look forward to seeing you all, inshallah, next week, same time, 6:45, in our 3rd lesson. Inshallah, I hope you all have a beautiful Eid, a wonderful Eid. You all enjoyed yourselves. Inshallah, I look forward to seeing you all next week. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.